It's recording. But yeah, but you were talking about the spontaneity. Well, just go ahead and go. I'm not even.
Yeah, I mean, link it, the idea of planning, like whether that's for your life or your career and stuff. I think what we're both saying is that you lose an essence of excitement. And then the double-edged sword of that is if you don't plan, thinking in context of say work, it's like it can cause like anxiety because we live in a society as well, which kind of teaches us plan, have an organized structure, have a plan, have a goal, have a 5-year plan, whatever. But in the context of work, for example, this job that I'm doing with this gallery, which is working with a community group and making a film, I just finished a second workshop yesterday, and I found that in both the workshops, I didn't manage to achieve what the outcome goal was. And I don't like the idea of outcomes anyway when it comes to working with groups, because a lot of my process is centered around like research and responding to what is shared.
Yeah,
So I would often find that like this group of women that I'm working with, we didn't even end up doing the exercises that I needed to be done in order to make or think about how I'm going to make this film with them. The conversations just ended up going in a particular direction. And for me, I think that's where the joy comes in for me. Like you have a plan, you have an idea, but it's how do you respond to it? How do you deviate away from it? How do you adapt? How do your instincts kind of tell you to respond? And that's the enjoyment that I have. Like it's very exhausting, but it's an enjoyable kind of exhaustion because for me in the context of those workshops, I feel like what I end up getting out of that spontaneity is it's so rich, it's so enriching. It kind of takes you into a different direction. And I
yeah,
think in the context of creativity and art, you need that. Because if it's planned, I don't know, you kind of already know maybe what you're looking for. And I feel excited when I'm surprised.
yeah. I mean, this is. I think the best is just to like make the room to be able to be surprised. I mean,
Mm,
because like I really think that like what's that like saying once again about it's about the journey and not the destination.
mm,
Like honestly, the best things I've ever made were less about the idea in the beginning. It was much more about things I learned about myself in the midst of being in that creative process, basically. And yeah, and it's just always about making space to be able to like let that happen. And it's just being like a bit more like actionable in the ideas versus just simply contemplating it and trying to like plan it out.
yeah.
And I think that like as much as plan is a necessity, planning things is a necessity. I think that to claim that you know all parts of the outcome is a bit of hubris,
Mm.
basically. I said hubris out loud.
Hubris. And I'm just there nodding, like, I know what this word means, but I just know it in the context.
Yeah. But like if you write it down, it's like Hubris
Hubris. What's the actual definition? What's the definition of hubris?
is like arrogance.
Ah, yes, 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 yes. It's funny. I didn't like to even to be talking about this stuff because it's like, how do you plan in the year that we've lived through? How do you plan in a pandemic? It's like everything that I had envisioned for this year, in a way, hasn't gone that way. So, for example, receiving funding to run a project in South Asia, that's
Yeah.
impossible when everything's a red zone. So that kind of in its own way has stunted that project. But how do you adapt now to make that still possible?